let's begin and get into the latest in the NBA's play-in games. And good news for the NBA because Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler get their win last night. The Warriors beat the Grizzlies 121-116. They did not cover the spread, but they did win the game. And the reason why they won, folks, he's back again. Playoff Jimmy. Wow. Jimmy Butler in his first playoff game. Does this even count as a playoff game? I don't know. In his first play-in game ever, 38 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. He and Steph Curry, who added 37 points, went off in their win yesterday. We'll also have to keep an eye on Ja Morant, who rolled his ankle and could potentially maybe miss some time. We will see, of course, as they have to play another play-in game as well. But after the game, a very happy Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry talking about just what made that game go to get the win.
We talked about it, and it's always play basketball the right way, shoot the ball when you're open, attack, get into the paint, get to the free throw line, and pass it to the open guy. So no matter who's guarding me, I'm always going to play the exact same way.
Did you figure that scheme, though, would lead to, you getting to the rim a lot and, scoring as much as you did?
Yes and no. I feel like I have the opportunity here to pick my spots incredibly well, and they're always looking to get me the ball in my spots where I can be aggressive and put the ball in the basket or make the right play for the next individual. So we ran a couple sets for me to do that, and then Steph did all the other stuff.
I don't know exactly what point in the year it was when we were below 500, and after a 12-3 start, emotional roller coaster of the season, for us to be able to, climb our way back into relevancy and then, trick off a couple opportunities to get it done within the 82. It just came down to, having one game where we just get a win however we could, and thankfully it happened. And now with some clarity on, who we're playing in the playoff series, great Houston team that's had an amazing year. For us, just a sense of relief that we have something to look forward to now, and excited about the challenge.
And Golden State will take on Houston Sunday. And don't look now, but the Warriors are favored in Houston in game 1, -1.5 over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, so Hawks and Magic also went at it last night. This was a snoozer. The Magic annihilated the Atlanta Hawks last night. My gosh, 120-95. Pablo Banchero had 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. Trae Young had a big game. He had 28 points. They just couldn't get any three-pointers knocked down in this one. Needless to say, the Magic, with the win, they have the honor of playing the Boston Celtics in the first round. And by the way, that's the biggest line thus far in the first weekend of the NBA playoffs. Boston -14.5 going into the weekend in that game. Needless to say, Jamal Mosley says his team has played big games before, so he wasn't surprised they showed up last night.
Because we've been there before. I think we've been in these situations in the close games at home. Our ability to get the stops and get the runs at the right time was very big for us. But you saw the group come together on the court when they went on the run. I think we had 6-1 fouls in that third quarter. But our ability to not let that rattle us and then dig in on the defensive end and get out and get some easy baskets, now that created the momentum. Our crowd got into it, and that just propelled us.
Jamal, what kind of impact did Cole Anthony have on tonight's game, and what kind of season has it been for him?
It's been up and down for him. 26 points tonight, but just his energy, his spark, his juice, what he provides for this team coming off that bench. He plays fearlessly, and that's how we need him to continue to play. It's been up and down because there's been moments when, we talked about it early in the year, he was out of the rotation, and then he found a way. The next time down, he walks himself back in and helps us win the Miami game. So that's just who he is. His resiliency, his toughness, his spark that he gives this team off the bench is just, it's what we need.
It's right now what the Magic needs. They'll need a lot more to beat Boston, that's for sure. Meanwhile, tonight, the NBA play-in games continue. Miami takes on Chicago with the Heat, a slight underdog in that one. And the Sacramento Kings take on the Dallas Mavericks. That's the late game tonight. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Bucks will be without Damian Lillard in game 1 of their NBA playoff matchup against the Indiana Pacers. He's made good progress with the blood clot that he was diagnosed with, but it looks like he's going to miss at least one game, maybe two. We'll keep an eye on that as we head into the weekend. The state of Tennessee does not want to see the sport event contract gaming enabled anytime soon. And of course, we've been talking about this a ton. A lot of different companies have tried to sort of skirt the idea that they are sports betting companies and use the different wording and use sport event contracts as a possibility to get by it. Companies like Kalshi, Robinhood, Crypto.com have all enacted these and put on their apps, and Tennessee Sports Gaming says no go. In fact, Mary Beth Thomas, the executive director of the Tennessee State Committee, says that we believe that these sport event contracts and wagers are under the act and being offered in violation of Tennessee law and regulations. This has been the big sports betting story of the year, these prediction markets and sports event contracts. Some states say they're okay. Some say they do not. Tennessee is the next to say, gotta stop. All right, what is the future of the Miami Dolphins at this point? Remains to be seen as they enter the NFL draft coming up next week. It looks like they'll be parting ways with all-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey. In fact, it looks like they are exploring trade options for the former Pro Bowler. Chris Greer, the general manager of the Miami Dolphins, says it potentially is time to move on and look in a different direction.
So really, after a couple of weeks of discussions between ourselves internally and Jalen and his representation, we decided that it was probably in the best interest for all parties to move forward. So I will say these decisions aren't done quickly, and they're not taken lightly, because we spent a lot of time this off season working through this, talking through things. At the end of the day, Jalen did not ask for a trade, so we went through the process, and I just felt that after numerous conversations and then talking last week with Jalen and his agent, that it was best to move forward, and it was best interest of the Miami Dolphins and for Jalen Ramsey.
NFL draft 1 week from tomorrow night. All right, Chicago Cubs sent down top prospect Matt Shaw, had a tough start to the season, but they'll take a win last night any day of the week over the San Diego Padres. 2-1 the final, a triple in the 10th inning. The Cubs finally take care of the San Diego Padres, who have been unbeatable at home. Meanwhile, the Rockies can't win any games at all. They lose again to the Dodgers. Will Smith, 3-run home run, ends up picking up the win there. Also for the Philadelphia Phillies, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, they go deep. They win 6-4 over the Giants. Also, somebody finally found a way to beat Atlanta's Spencer Schwellenbach. The Blue Jays take care of the Atlanta Braves by a final of 6-3. Also, the Cleveland Guardians get a nice performance from their pitcher, Logan Allen. They end up winning by a final score of 6-3 in this game. Allen pitches 5 2/3 innings and gets the win against the Baltimore Orioles. Texas is now 7-1 at home. Tyler Molly's had a great start to his season, 9 strikeouts in 6 innings. He gets the win. Yankees beat the Royals 4-2 behind Max Fried, 6 2/3, 7 strikeouts. And wouldn't you know, Alex Bregman comes up very big yesterday in their win against Tampa Bay. 5 for 5, 2 home runs. They beat the Rays 7-4. Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's a special Wednesday here on NewsWire, as we have Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report. If you watched the show Monday, you may have heard Pat and I kidding around about the green jacket that was won by Rory McIlroy at the Masters. I'm sure you were watching that if you're watching this show. And we kid around with Pat about he didn't wear his green jacket. Pat, unbeknownst to us, actually does have a green jacket and is wearing it for us here on the show.
I had
there
to.
It is, Pat Evans.
I had to bring it in for you. It's a Jack Nicklaus Golden Bear collection from my grandpa, so it's an heirloom now. You know, it's a hand-me-down from my grandpa. And he is no longer with us, but I get to keep it, and it's great, and I love it. So
That's
there we
amazing. That is amazing to start off the show. All right, so for people who are betting on the Masters in North Carolina, they're going to be watching our show right now and wondering if this story that you posted over at Legal Sports Report is going to come true. Like a lot of other states, not all, but most, they're looking to raise taxes on sports betting this year and next year. North Carolina is the state that we're set to discuss. What is the exact rate that they're looking to lift this by, Pat? And is this something realistic for that state?
Yeah, so North Carolina, of course, got online sports betting off the ground last spring. It's seemingly going well for them down there. They've got 8 operators, and it's bringing in almost $135 million in tax revenue, which is great. It's going to the UNC's a number of causes, but also going to UNC system, not UNC and NC State, but a bunch of other smaller schools, 13 smaller schools to be exact. It is currently at 18%, the tax rate, and lawmakers they've introduced legislation to move it up to 36%, doubling it. And that is kind of just, they want to bring in more money. A lot of these states are looking at states like New York that has a 51% rate and saying, wait, we can make a lot more money off of this than we are. And I think a lot of that too is when a lot of these legislations were originally being talked about and passed, a lot of the estimates were very high. And, some of the states are not seeing the actual revenue come in at the estimated level. So they're saying, okay, let's bring it up a little bit. What's kind of unique about this one is it would increase the money going to the UNC school system, and it would also eventually send money to UNC and NC State, given a provision in there that those teams play at least 4 games against in-state UNC school system schools, basketball games, so to qualify for the extra money. So there is that. Is this realistic? I think anything can happen. We've seen multiple states increase the tax rate from Illinois and Ohio, which we'll talk about Ohio again in a minute. But then we've also seen a lot of tax rate proposals this year that have fallen short and haven't gained any traction. We saw Indiana, Michigan, Louisiana, little provisions that would raise the taxes. Those didn't go anywhere. Governor Wes Moore in Maryland proposed doubling the tax rate in his budget. It didn't go anywhere. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has also proposed in his budget to increase sports betting and online casino taxes. It's not gaining a bunch of traction and has actually faced a lot of backlash. So yeah, a lot of states are considering it or have considered it this year, and will continue to consider it in future sessions. But it hasn't gone most anywhere, and so it's going to be questionable if it gains any traction in North Carolina, which we've seen a lot of like extra auxiliary sports betting bills the last year in North Carolina, and it just hasn't. Most of them haven't even gone anywhere in a committee. So it'll be interesting to see if this one does move anywhere. But yeah, doubling the tax rate from 18 to 36, nothing to sneeze at. Certainly something to keep an eye on, though.
Yeah, and 36 not quite at 50 like some other places too, but we'll
No.
We'll keep an eye on that and see. How about in Ohio, where it's the opposite here, where they've been trying to raise taxes there now for quite some time, I think several months. Lawmakers as of now saying that this is not going to happen, but Pat, how things can change completely.
That's true. So yeah, to fully understand this, you have to go back to 2023 when Ohio launched, and you had Governor Mike DeWine immediately, like a couple months after it launched, going, hey, let's raise the tax rate from 10% to 20%. So he's already doubled it once. And then you enter this year, when he had proposed his budget in February, he said, let's double it again. Why not? 20 to 40%. And that was all to potentially fund the Cleveland Browns stadium construction and some renovations in other stadiums in the state. Lawmakers were even heading into this session kind of wary of that idea. There was a report that was filed by lawmakers last fall that said, no, that first doubling, the 10 to 20%, was premature. We needed to see what the market was going to do. We needed to see how much it was bringing in. That was premature. Then in December, in a late session, a lawmaker proposed reducing it back to 10%. That didn't go anywhere. But then a month or two later, you had DeWine proposing to double it again. So there's this back and forth between the legislator and the governor. You've got the lead finance committee in the House saying, no, we're not raising taxes. And that's what happened. The House stripped that provision from the budget, passed it. It could come back and reemerge, but I doubt it, based on kind of what the Republican lawmakers in Ohio are feeling about the taxes there. So again, a lot of states are proposing to hike their sports betting taxes. Ohio joined the list of basically saying, no, we're not doing that this year.
Yeah, got it. All right. We reported earlier in the week, Pat, some optimism for online sports betting may be coming to Nebraska. Seems like some solid progress made, hopefully by the end of this year or next year. I think we got to get this on the ballot first in November, correct?
They would need to go to the ballot first. It is a really interesting tug of war we have there in the unicameral legislature in Nebraska. There are 3 final votes. It's past the first one with 27 votes. The final vote needs at least 30 yes votes. So you're in a kind of gray ground right now. Senator Elliot Bostar, who is the sponsor and is pushing this, says there were multiple people who were missing from the vote that would be yes votes. But there's another hiccup here that at least one senator has promised to filibuster this, the sports betting issue, because they don't like it. That would require 33 votes. So there's still a lot of whipping that needs to be done. A lot of people saying we need to get this done. There's some local publications that have talked to the senators who are saying, you cannot like sports betting if you want, but I watch people from my house go across the street or go across the border and bet in the fields in Iowa. So we don't like seeing our money going to different states. So I think that's the big argument there. Governor Jim Pillen is a proponent of sports betting. He even pitched the idea last year as they were kind of trying to figure out how to come up with property tax relief for residents. He suggested sports betting could be used for that. So he's in favor. So the question is 3 votes going to be enough that Bostar supposedly has, or does he need 6 votes? It's going to be a tight race there in Nebraska before we get to the ballot, or if it can go to the ballot. But yeah, it could be there. And so we could have 2 states this year if, again, Hawaii is going to conference committee, and Hawaii just a dark horse. Nebraska kind of is as well to go online. But hey, possibilities, and that's why we watch these legislative ongoings.
Pat, it's awesome to see you, and great to have that jacket making its debut here on the show. Looking slick, nice. We got a blue and a green here on the show today. I wonder what color's next. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks as always, Craig. I'll see you next week.
Right.